It's Sunday, July 11th. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel, a special edition on the Blanco Lirio channel regarding the Beckworth complex, just some 60 miles northeast of here today. We talked about this on the previous update. Today, that complex is up to 83,000 acres and only 8% containment. Tonight, I want to bring you Jake Cagle, the operations manager, and his briefing. Just hear it straight from the horse's mouth, as this morning's briefing that Jake gave was an excellent overview of the issues that they're facing fighting this fire, this extreme fire behavior this early in the fire season here in California. And this is not just a California problem. This is a entire western United States firefighting problem, an unprecedented firefighting year. Remember, this fire started out as a small lightning strike, a series of small lightning strike fires, and this particular fire was originally called the Sugarloaf Fire on Sugarloaf Mountain, and it escaped. And we'll get into the details of how that escape occurred, but it turned from a small, very small fire, lightning strike fire, to this 83,000 acre complex today. And so Jake explains it in some of his earlier briefings, but in this briefing tonight, he's just going to, you could just sense the frustration in his briefing today of what he's facing. There's a lot of ignorance out there about how wildland fires are fought, and these wildland firefighters are woefully understaffed, underpaid, and overworked. And that is some of the fundamental issues that are facing the entire United States Forest Service at this time. And remember, when you spend all your money on fighting the fires at the Forest Service, there's no money left for operations or prevention throughout the rest of the year, because your entire budget is spent fighting the fires. Now, here in California, the majority of land here in California is Forest Service or BLM land. It's federal land. CAL FIRE only has a small swath of land from basically the interior edge of the forests, of the U.S. forests, down to the Sacramento Valley watershed area. And so that includes a lot of this where the Blanco Lirio headquarters is, the wildland-urban interface in between the foothills, in between the valley and the federal lands, or the U.S. Forest Service lands. And the rest of the entire northern state of California is surrounded by Forest Service lands, all the way down the Sierra Nevada mountains to Southern California. This is a fundamentally federal problem. So if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you're getting a pretty good education about how wildland firefighting works, and especially the aerial application or the air show over the fire. But Jake does a great job tonight. Let's go straight to his briefing and see just exactly how one of these briefings are done and what the issues are facing to this very day. When you're looking at the map, you'll see brackets. The fire divisions are broken up into divisions around the fire, and then from divisions to branches as this becomes a major complex event. And then after Jake's briefing, I've got some archive footage I found from the Husky from last December, where we took off out of that Bodad airstrip I was telling you about on the previous update. I'm going to show you what all was lost in this fire complex. Before we start the briefing with Jake, let's give you the broad overview. Here's the wildfire situation in the western United States that are spreading resources thin. Here in California, the incident we're talking about here's some of the other incidents going on in the state, is the Beckworth complex right here. This fire escaped this small lightning strike right here and has since grown as ran 17 miles all the way across the Plumas National Forest, down what's called the escarpment, the steep edge to the eastern part of the mountains in this region, and down to the desert floor of 395 in Doyle, and looks like they're going to catch it in about this footprint that we're looking at here at 83,000 acres. We'll talk more about how this fire escaped in a future update. Okay, here's the map that Jake's going to be using to brief us up on. Here's the two original lightning strikes, the Dada fire and the Sugar fire right here. This was the original footprint of the original fire before it escaped. These lightning strikes occurred around the beginning of the month, around 4 July, and escaped shortly thereafter. The winds are prevailing out of the southwest, pushing the fire to the northeast in this direction. These large brackets here are branch divisions. Branch 1 through, looks like about branch 4. And then these are division breaks within each individual branch. So it gives you the organization of forces on this large, complex fire. This fire's ran 17 miles all the way down to the desert here on 395, and I think they're going to be able to get it stopped just fine here on 395.
Good morning, Jake Cagle, Operations for California Incident Management Team 4. It's July the 11th. The Beckworth complex is currently 83,256 acres with 8% containment. So we're going to start down in Madalena area off the Sugar footprint. Crews continue to mop up and hold off the dozer lines where we brought it down to the toe of the slope. They continue to have a presence through there and utilizing hose to mop up down in these areas off the dozer line that you see here, working our way all the way up to Judici. They did do some firing, a little bit of firing last night in Judici, and but this was a huge stroke for us to get this tied in to keep it out of Chilkoot. So those folks, I want to let everybody know, those folks had a lot of public in there, and people were angry because we were trying to do our job and firing in there. So we need support from folks in there. We're just doing our job. I know there's some rumor that we're just out there firing and just doing whatever. That's not the case. We're not out there just firing. The only time we do firing operations, and it's communicated through me and approved through me, and it's when we're doing it where it makes sense and it's safe to do so. If we have adverse winds, which would mean if you're firing this piece down here and you had winds coming out of the north, we're not going to fire because that's an impact. You have to understand we're here to try to put the fire out and to manage the fire. Again, our number one priority is life safety. So we weren't doing any firing yesterday at all except for last night, and we did this piece. The other bit of firing we did is there was some point protection in Doyle, but that was after the fire had got into the town of Doyle. And what that does is it prevents it from getting around structures when you don't have rolling stock or equipment there, and it's just a quick technique to do, and it's a safe technique to do, and it's a standard that we utilize. But we're not out there just firing. We always have to have an anchor point, meaning it has to be off the fire's edge so it doesn't come out and around you. It has to be approved by us, and it also have to have the correct winds to do so. So I just wanted to distill that rumor there. So coming around Judici, that is all tied in. We have dozer line moving from the 284 off to the east, and we're tying it into the rail bed that shoots parallel to Scott Road. We should be getting this done in the next few hours. We'll get this tied in, and then we'll get it in. We'll utilize the road bed as the fire backs down. This area we may potentially fire. We're talking about it. But again, we're not going to do it if we get any kind of escarpment wind that's pushing out of the north. We do have forecasted winds again out of the northwest, or correction, out of the southwest. So it's pushing this direction. So the pushes the fire to the northeast, but our winds are out of the southwest. We expect them to be up to 25 miles an hour again today. So clearly, if we have those types of wind, we will not be doing any firing in this area because that would push that out past the 395. So if we have the window to do it, and early morning is the window to do it because we don't have the winds, we'll do that. If not, we're going to allow the fire to back down, and in some areas it's close already to the rail bed, and we're utilizing the rail bed off of Scott Road. To also, there were some rumors that some houses burned down in Scott. There's no houses burned down in Scott Road, off of Scott Road. There's going to be resources out there all day today. You'll see a lot of heavy equipment, also aircraft working in there. So we're going to show a video real quick. So the first video that we're showing, I want to show you the fire behavior that we're looking at. So if you could see the flames in the video, that is what we're dealing with. Those are 50 to 100 foot flame lengths. We cannot put our resources directly on that. So we have to pull back and find areas where we can be successful, and that's utilizing roads or road systems or country, get it down to the toe of the slope where we can put in our own dozer lines and allow the fire to back down in there and potentially fire if we have the conditions to do so. So that's in the first video. So moving along, we'll continue up the 395. The status of the 395, we're evaluating, and tentatively we'll be opening it up sometime this morning. You'll be notified through CHP. At this time, it is still closed. So when you do travel through the 395, it is imperative that you watch your speed, and especially through the town of Doyle when you go through there. You are going to impede our operations if you stop and you're looking at what is going on. So we need you to follow and be with the piloted traffic that Caltrans and CHP are doing, and drive slowly, because there's a lot of resources out on that road. I know everybody's curious and you want to see what's going on, but we just need you to drive through there and get where you need to go and utilize the 395, but do not stop and take pictures. Do not look in those areas, because we need to do operations and we don't want people stopped on the side of the road. But that should open up tentatively sometime today. All evacuations down in the Scott Road area, all the way down to Sierra Line, remain in effect. That is mandatory. If you are in there, you need to get out. We are advising you every day that you need to get out. Those are mandatory evacuations. It's going to help us if you are out of there. Moving up the 395, everything is still on the west side of 395, and until we get to Costantia, everything is held on the west side of Costantia, and there's a couple areas where it slopped over yesterday when that wind pushed, but crews have lines around everything, so everything on the Costantia Road all the way up to the Doyle Loop looks really good. So we did have on the Doyle Loop, that's where it crossed over yesterday, on the 395, the east side of 395. Yesterday's briefing, I reported out that we did cross over the Nevada border. That was incorrect. The way the column was pushing, it appeared that it was running fast. That's lighter fuel, so we figured that it had gone in there. We were still trying to get our intel. These resources worked diligently yesterday, and they got around that, and it's 10 acres across the 395, but it is not in Nevada. Everything is still in California. Continuing up through Doyle, we do have a structure lost through Doyle. I cannot give you specifics. We're working on getting a team in there to do assessment. Again, the importance on that assessment is we don't want to give out false information. It's imperative that we find out who the landowner is, and that way we can contact the landowner. So that's where we're at with that. I cannot give you specifics other than there is structure loss in Doyle. Continuing up over onto the Doyle Grade Road, we did have spots over the side of that. Crews are worked all night, and they're trying to pick that up direct as much as possible. We're working on a plan so we can get it back down to the 395 and close this loop. Locals here, you all know how rugged this terrain is here on the escarpment, so we're going to have difficulties trying to deal with that. When we get the conditions to do so, we will get aircraft. I know there's a lot of conversations about aircraft. The second video we're going to show you, you can see that is down around the Doyle area yesterday as the fire burned through there. You can see the smoke. In that smoke, we cannot fly aircraft through that smoke. They can't see through there, so it's dangerous. Again, like I said yesterday in the public meeting, it's like flying through fog. They don't have that capability, and it's not safe for the aircraft to do that. So that's why you didn't see aircraft in those specific areas. Also, yesterday we had extreme winds. When the wind is over 35 miles an hour, we cannot fly aircraft. It is not safe to fly aircraft. So we have to ensure that so that's that picture. In that picture, it's showing you the smoke there. So you can see that, not the picture, the video that you're watching there. So moving on to Doyle Grade, crews continue to work this area today. They'll be focusing heavy. This is our crux. This is our primary focus, because we want to keep it on the west side of the 395, keep it out of Susanville area. So we'll be working diligently with that. We do have forecasted southwest winds again, not as strong as yesterday, probably in the 15 to 20 range, but it'll be pushing the fire in that direction. So please pay attention to all the advisory in Lassen County. If they tell you to get out, if it goes to a mandatory, we need you to get out of that area. Continuing down back towards the 284, crews did really good job yesterday, and we made a lot of progress just underneath Dixie Mountain and the lookout itself. We're real close to tying in and having this whole flank completed and secured. That's a big win. That keeps everything out of Dixie Valley. I know there's a lot of concerns. Of course, that's our concern too. We do not want to go into Dixie Valley. So this flank is secure. For now, we're continuing. There's a few pieces that we still need to tie in over the next operational period today and tonight. Crews were limited with access last night due to being dark, couldn't see, and real steep and rocky terrain, so they were limited. But today we'll go out there and work that. We have a full accommodation of air today. We'll be working air where it's safe to do so in those areas. The Dodo fire remains 99%. We continue to patrol and mop up that area, and we do have resources in there, and we do have monitoring with aircraft. So that's still one of our priorities, again, because that could impact Dixie Valley. And coming down to the toe, back towards Sugarloaf, everything looks really good through that area. But this, again, just a reminder, the crux. Another thing I wanted to talk about aircraft. So I'm showing a picture right now. You can see the conditions, see the smoke. It's like looking through fog. That's why you didn't see the aircraft working in there. And I want to help you understand retardant. It's called retardant. It's not, it doesn't extinguish fire. It is a way that if we put retardant down, it reinforces and it slows the fire down. Sometimes it depends on the fire behavior, but it slows the fire down and it allows resources to get in there and back that up. But just because we drop retardant doesn't mean it's going to put the fire out. It's not an extinguishment. It is a retardant. It slows down the fire, but we can only do that if we have resources to go in there and enforce it. So maybe a lot of people are saying, well, why can't you just put retardant and box it in? Well, that's a great concept if you're in a light fuel like grass. You can do that in the grass. That makes sense, and it will prevent the fire. It brings up the moistures in those small fuel bed. But when you're dealing with timber and trees, big trees, it's not going to work. It's going to slow it down a little bit. But the problem is if it's going this way and you have southwest winds and it's heading to the northeast, it's throwing embers out in front of itself and it's going already across the retardant. So just wanted to help you guys understand the value there. So it is a valuable force for us. However, it's not a fix-all. It doesn't take the fire out. It doesn't put the fire out. That's your current update. We're going to update you tomorrow or tonight around 7 o'clock. You guys have a good day.
Now let's go to the sectional chart here and show you where the TFR is. The temporary flight restriction area is this red box right here. And here's the Bodad private airstrip that I was talking about in the previous update. It looks like the fire just missed Bo's airstrip. Now let's go to the archival GoPro footage I have of departing the Bodad airstrip to the south in the Husky back in December, and we'll be flying right over the area that is burned down today. Hello, the Bodad 1 departure with a bit of a tailwind at nearly 6,000 feet, 41 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're taxiing to the north, going to spin around and blast off to the south here at Bo's airstrip at 6,000 feet elevation, about 1,000 feet long. Back in December, nice and cool temperatures, minimal density altitude in those conditions. But still, note how long it takes for the Husky to get off the ground at this elevation, kind of like Lindbergh crow hopping along here. So right about in here is the end of Bo's airstrip with a nice long valley to fire off down into, no obstacles. But right down here where the Ramalli Creek intersection is represents about the left flank of the fire. So everything ahead of the aircraft that you're looking at now is in the black. It's all been burned up. Hopefully this timber is spaced widely enough apart where much of it has been preserved and the fire ran underneath it. Yeah, 1,000 feet per minute out of the Husky back in December. And there ahead is Frenchman Lake, and all of that timber around Frenchman Lake, well, I got to go up there and see just how much of it is burned, but that's all in the middle of this huge complex fire at this time.